Let's get rolling, guys.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. Hello, Mr. Palacio. Nice to see you. All righty. Kathy, can we start with the roll call?
Albert.
I'm here.
Cooper. Ferguson.
Here.
Latin. Hawley. Janelli.
Here.
Matrina. Petrofessa.
Present.
Caversack. Franzilla.
Here. Oh, good job. We have recognitions. And on our recognitions, we're recognizing Ann Rose Latin, Dusty Latin, who's not here, I'm sorry, but Bob Tabersack and Phyllis Transillo. One of the reasons we're recognizing Bob Tabersack is he's been 10 years on the board of ed. Sorry, I'm not very good now. And Phyllis has been here 4 years, and this is their last meeting, and I'm sad. Both of them have brought their individualism to the board and their concern for the kids and our children. And we've had some pretty intense conversations, all of us, about it. And I want to thank you for your time and your patience, all right? But thank you very, very much. Thank you. All righty, public participation. The board welcomes public participation.
0. There isn't anyone signed up.
There's nobody, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak? Seeing none, we're moving forward to the consent calendar. No, we didn't say at the table, Richard, we know you want to speak, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
make a motion that the Board of Education approves the items on the consent calendar exhibits 15-175 through 15-178 as recommended.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Taversack. Mr. Hall has arrived.
I apologize, Madam Chair.
Second. Any questions, any discussion on the consent calendar? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to take a second before we move on to the next item to thank Paul Goodwin for his 19 years service and accept his retirement, if we accepted his retirement. That's a long time. Thank you. All right, employee representatives. I believe we have someone from the AIS. Thank you. Please come and introduce yourself and tell us about who you are and what's going
Dr.
on.
Bass, make sure that's on.
Yes.
Shift that lock button.
This is just, this is the lock, okay?
So I just try to slide.
If you want to hold it, you can talk this way. Something like that, then it's not.
I'm just going to start. Hi, good evening. My name is Lori Woodruff. I'm a 4th grade teacher at AIS Magnet. And I'm going to start out, I'm going to let Donna do most of the talking because she talks a lot faster than I do. But to start out, we just, this being the season of thanks, I know I'm speaking for any teacher in the district who just received a new laptop and saying thank you so very much. Thank you for recognizing the need and for making it happen for us and for making it happen so quickly. We all appreciate it so very, very much, so thank you. Okay, Donna, you're up. Okay. The first thing I'm going to start with is a couple weeks ago, we did a service project at AIS where we packed 160 shoe boxes filled with goods for children overseas who are very needy. And that was open to the entire school, and 160 boxes is huge. It beat our total from last year by almost 100.
I'm much shorter than she is. So we just wanted to give you kind of an update about what's happening at the Magnet School, at the elementary school. I'll try and go quickly. We have some new initiatives and some things that are continuing. One is there's an ArtLink grant that was expanded. It's a way that we have an exchange with international students. This year we have opened it up to 5th and 4th grade, and we're connecting with Nigeria and Japan. The value of that program is over $4,000, and we were able to win the grant. So we're opening that up to all of our 4th and 5th grade students. We were really happy about that. We're also up Ben's Bell School. This is our 3rd year they've participated.
Second or third?
Yeah, it's about 2.5 years. So we actually have the program of kindness is throughout the school and throughout the year, not just a one-time piece, but it's part of the celebrations that we do on a daily basis. We, as a staff, 8 of our staff members participated in the Green Leaf training. This year we're going to become a Green Ribbon school. So out of that, the 8 staff, we participated over the length of 2 summers plus the school year, and it helps with environmental studies for the children and curriculum, but it's one of the things that we do. It becomes part of the culture of the school. And it fits very well with our recycling and our composting program and our gardening program. We have a strategic planning committee that is looking at school-wide data, and they meet on a regular basis. We have 3 Odyssey of the Mind teams that are going to be competing this year. It's kind of all over here. We participate in the Connecticut Colt participation. The Connecticut Colt program is a celebration of international languages because we teach Spanish from K through 5. We have participated, and we've also in the past hosted the Colt production. Another project that we're doing is working, what is the program that does the trout?
Trout in the Classroom. It's a program through the state of Connecticut.
So through the state of Connecticut, the trout program, and 4th grade students learn.
They don't let them go in class, right? They take.
They actually go to the Still River.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should get Tuesdays.
And hopefully they have a long life from there. 3rd grade has partnered with Western Connecticut State University theater students, and they're working on playwriting and acting. We are having our first reading night this December. Is being organized by one of our, it's being led by one of our 1st grade teachers, and she's got a committee working on that. We are starting a gardening club after school, and it should be up and running at the beginning of February. We've had a gardening program through the school day. This is going to be the first time that we also offer it after school. Our international studies team is revising our international studies curriculum. We're looking back to see what's worked well and what we can improve on and implementing that.
And how we can connect it to other areas of the curriculum as well.
We have a newspaper club, and they just released their first edition of the year. That goes all digital, and the children actually sell them for 10 cents. So they're learning a lot of different skills with that. We have our 1st grade as one of the celebrations for Earth Day. They do earth necklaces that they make out of earth. We are one of the few schools, or maybe the only school in Danbury, that's going on a yearly school-wide movie trip, but we always connect it with the international studies and our environmental studies. This year it's going to be Born in China, which focuses on panda studies. Last year it was the chimpanzee movie, and then we have follow-up activities to that. We will have, again, our annual art show and ice cream social. That's something that we do every year. Another past activity that we just had was kindergarten collected and donated Thanksgiving gift baskets for some of our own families that were in need and distributed those. Going back to the gardening, we have a K-5 gardening program, and this is the 2nd year, we have a hydroponic gardening tower, and the 5th grade is going to take those over. I think there might be more than one. There's 3 of those. And then they're working with their master gardener to continue that program, and they'll start the hydroponic gardening indoors, and then some of those plants will be transplanted out into our field gardens. We have breeding dogs. We have over 6 dogs that come now. so that the children can feel comfortable practicing their fluency with the dogs.
They're registered and insured.
Yes, thank you for letting us continue that program. We also have a comfort dog. Abby comes and gets to work with the kids. So the only other thing that I had to note, our music program, our music teacher does a concert for each grade level. I think that's one of the more unique things to our building. And especially at our 3rd grade level, she does the children do the entire concert in Spanish. Plus they do recorders and they work with the PE program to learn dances, Spanish dances for the production. Lastly, we have our special friends program is up and running. We will serve over 25 students this year. So thank you so much for letting us.
Will the rest of the faculty from IAS
Yes, please.
Please,
Do we leave anything out? I saw those emails
I
coming up
actually
there.
forgot one thing that the 5th grade does when you mentioned WestCon. We do a program with the WestCon students. We do a field day with the WestCon students in the spring, and the kids absolutely love it. So that we've been doing that for 4 or 5 years now. So.
And the Wisconsin students, when they meet with the 3rd graders, they're doing the playmaking and the writing and, the acting part of it, but they always intertwine it with ours, whatever curriculum we're into at that point of, so it might be informational, it might be our character study, so it's always, something we're doing, not just, coming and doing their program, but intertwining both of them, so.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
You go.
Dr. Glass just asked me to talk a little bit more about the ArtLink program that we have with Japan. I have lived in Japan for 3.5 years and learned what I call Lori Japanese really well. And so I went to the magnet school hoping for opportunities to share what I learned about culture and broadening my perspectives about how other people live and raising awareness and tolerance and appreciating differences in people. And this ArtLink program is a wonderful way for us to do that. The children exchange art with another class in Japan as a gift, and during this program, I'm able to teach my kids some Japanese, and the Japanese kids they respond to the artwork that's sent to them. And we respond to the artwork that's sent to us, and it's just a wonderful bridge to build an understanding between teachers, and for it to begin with kids is just the best thing you could ever hope for. It's a really meaningful experience.
May I ask any board member that has a question for anybody?
I just want to add on to what Lori said also.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay.
No, go right ahead.
The other thing with the 5th graders is we've also been doing ArtLink. Lori was the first, but we tacked on after she did. We've had the privilege, I guess, of corresponding with kids in different countries. A few years ago, we corresponded with kids in Guatemala, and we actually were able to do a video link, and it was, I can't even tell you, so powerful for our students because these kids had to get on a bus and travel for 5 hours to go to the place where they video linked, whereas our students walked down the hall. And it was just such an eye-opening experience for them. Last year we corresponded with a school in New Zealand, and I've managed to keep up the correspondence with that particular teacher in New Zealand. So we now have made connections, with schools around the world. So it's been, I'm so happy she was able to do that because it's really brought a whole lot to our school in a really nice perspective for our students.
And it's amazing. It's amazing for those of us that are listening. And thank you again.
Thank you. We had New Zealand, Japan, Guatemala, the rainforest in Guatemala. Last year we also linked with Russia, and this year a new country is Nigeria.
Excellent.
So we're expanding.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do any board members have questions? Richard, I'm sorry.
Could you elaborate on the green to the dog? And also you mentioned you had Brad, I only heard one of the countries with Nigeria. What does that encompass? And then thirdly, you guys got a full agenda, I really applaud you for your work. And what you just mentioned, the art program with the other countries is incredible. But is this something that other schools, Dr. Pasquarelli, could get involved in on some basis in terms of doing their own ingenuity today with the technology we have and the media we have is to try to reach out to other countries to introduce Danbury to Ecuador or Spain or something? Is that a possibility?
Why don't, we'll have Lori talk to you about the reading dogs, and then I'll talk to you about the art link.
The reading dogs were brought in a few years ago by one of our second grade teachers. I guess data has proven that children who have a problem with reading fluency, when they're reading aloud to dogs, their fear of reading aloud sort of goes away and they reach this comfort level that only dogs can give, and it just helps the children improve on their fluency. As for the comfort dog, Addie started coming to us after the tragedy at Sandy Hook. We have many families. There were 22 Sandy Hook children in our school that year, and the following year, I believe it was 22. I think it stayed the same. The number stayed the same. I'm not sure, but in any case, Addie comes during recess on Thursdays. You're welcome to come and visit her too if you'd like. And she just lays there on a blanket, and any child who is in need of some extra encouragement or comfort comes up to Addie and just pets her for a little while. And it's helped so much with the Sandy Hook children where Addie is still stationed, I believe 2 days a week. And we're just very lucky that she's able to fit us in her schedule and come once a week.
Okay, and now I'll address the ArtLink program. ArtLink is a program that is run by a local organization called Creative Connections that we have been very lucky to work with. One of our parents actually, the student has now gone on to middle school, but he had worked for the company as well, and I don't think that wasn't the organization, and that wasn't even our first connection to it. It's just, I think, he ended up having his son come to our school as an overlap. The Creative Connection piece, there's 2 levels. One is the exchange of artwork. The next level is the video component that you heard the 5th grade teacher speak to you about. We've been giving the grants because we're a priority school district, but they are a nonprofit, a 503, I believe. So it's very hard for them to, they're scraping things together to give us the grant to cover the 6 classes. And I'm not sure if that'll be repeated again next year. We apply every year.
Talk about the display of artwork from
It
June to September.
They have, the work is not just for Connecticut students. They actually, it's a national piece and then international. So they work with schools that aren't just located in Danbury or in Connecticut, but throughout the United States. Usually they're in more affluent places. I think that our connection, again, as a priority school, has helped us with receiving the grant work. And then they have connections, I believe it's with over 30 different countries. So they do keep it at the 4th and 5th grade level, and there is an application process. Once the students can complete the work, they have a yearly art show that we've been invited to, and we've actually gone and visited the last 3, and it just happened to have been at the Norwalk Aquarium last, and they leave the artwork up for 4 to 5 months.
They choose the artwork that best represents the culture that the artwork is coming from. So it's not every student's artwork that's put up or displayed. It's just several pieces from a specific culture.
And it's also the one that has, they have a yearly theme. One was food, one was water in their culture, light was another one. This year was a little more
Difficult.
it was challenging for our students because it was community. So they had to show what community meant to them and what they deeply value. So the students aren't just given a piece of paper and said, here, make something pretty. They have to have deep connections to the images that they're producing, and it has to have a lot of meaning so that when it goes to the other country, the students there can learn about each other's culture visually. So it oversees the language barrier. so that they can have a communication and start building an understanding.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for the ladies? No, but thank you very much for your presentation. It was very thorough. I'd like to see some sort of calendar with those dates on it that you all mentioned.
Sure.
But I couldn't get written down. That would be nice if you don't mind doing
And
it.
yeah,
All right, and thank you all for coming.
thank you for your time.
Thank you again for the laptop.
Yes.
That's why we do what we do, okay?
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you very much.
Have to come back after presentation.
All right, continuing, do we have student representatives? Thank you.
Okay. My name is Sophia Pompilio, and I'm the Board of Governors President. This is Emily Reese from the Executive Council. These past few weeks, we've had parent-teacher conferences on November 16th, which had an extremely well turnout with many attendees. There was a financial aid as well as a college night, and these two presentations were geared toward those who speak English as their second language. It was given in Spanish and Portuguese with over 90 families attending. Also, there was a PTO meeting for parents and students from middle schools for the Early Opportunity Program, also known as DECO. At this event, there were over 60 families. The National Honor Society will be having their fall induction ceremony next Monday for those admitted into the next chapter. And all fall sports have ended with the exception of football. Their last game is tomorrow against Ridgefield at 6 p.m. And boys soccer and boys cross country ended their season taking FCR championship first place.
Excellent, very good.
Hi everybody, I'm Jasmine Valverde from ACE. 14 ACE students successfully completed the fall hiking trip on the Appalachian Trail. Students hiked 7 miles on the Kent portion of the trail, set up camps, slept out in tents, and cooked their own meals. Many students found the trail to be quite challenging, and other students demonstrated support to assist others in being successful. On October 30th, students at ACE participated in a focus group with members from Midwestern Council on Alcoholism to provide input regarding latest trends in substance abuse that they witness in their community among with their friends. The results of the focus group will then be used to formulate plans of action that can be implemented to help address this very concerning issue. On Wednesday, November 4th, seniors participated in a financial literacy fair at Western Connecticut State University, being hosted by Western Connecticut Credit Union. All students attending had to complete 2 surveys surrounding career interests and financial planning. The surveys assisted students during the fair as they began to understand costs of education, budgeting, and good financial practices that will assist them in their future. 11th and 10th grade ACE students will have the opportunity this spring to participate in an after-school collaboration at Henrietta Tech High School. Students who meet criteria for acceptance will be able to enroll in either a culinary course or certified nurse assistant and will receive a 0.5 credit that means a high school graduation requirement.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Doing a lot, I'm exhausted. Okay. We're going, instead of going into the presentation or action items, we're going to fast forward this because we have people in the audience that need to go leave. And now let's go to for information we have on Danbury High School trip to Germany and Switzerland. And we're not so much talking about that, we're talking about trips in general. So if Mr. Boccaccio can come and talk to us, please.
Last night I did send some home to the board on the warnings that we're receiving from international travel. And in conversation with Mr. Boccaccio.
I didn't get it.
Okay.
I didn't use it.
Take my word for it. I sent it out last night. But then again, it made the news last night anyway. that the travel has been restricted till February 28th. 24th, and that was basically what I sent out for Europe. In discussion with Gary, the board approves all trips. They're international trips. And so I thought it would be wise to have a conversation tonight because they're planning on working on any alternatives. In fact, they have to do that. There's money at risk as well. So we're here to talk a little bit tonight about our options. Gary?
We have 2 trips planned for April break.
Is that working, Gary?
No, I don't know.
Just hit the lock button.
Okay. There are 2 trips planned for April break. One is to Paris and Spain, and the other is to Germany and Switzerland. In both cases, students have given at least $500 as a deposit. Many of them have made payments towards the full amount of the trip, and in some cases, because there was an option provided that enabled students to prepay it early, they would save money. Many students have paid the entire amount, which is about $3,000. In talking with the representatives today on the phone, minimally students would lose the $500 deposit, and in some cases they could potentially lose all of the money if we don't attend. We explored the option of some students going and some students remaining because there are 8 seniors on one of the trips, on the Paris trip, and we said if the 8 seniors chose to go on their own, could they do that? The answer was yes, but it would cost them more money because the prices that they got were based on a group rate of at least 25 students. We've also explored the options of postponing the trip, possibly to the summer. This way it would enable our current students as well as the seniors to take advantage of the trip. That is definitely a possibility. The factor there would be that the airlines that currently are going on may not refund the money because all of those tickets are non-refundable and non-transferable. And in the case of the Paris-Spain trip alone, there are 4 different airlines involved because of transfers and changes in planes and that kind of thing. So we have anywhere from 35 to 45 students on both trips as a potential number. The max is 44, but we have around over 30 for the Paris and Seville trip and 15 currently on the Germany-Switzerland trip. So that's essentially the situation. Certainly we're concerned about the situation over, in Europe with everything that we're learning, and now with the travel alert that's been issued, it's of great concern. Although the travel alert now is extended to February 24th, we clearly don't know what April will bring, whether things will be better or things will be worse. But at this point, I think it's probably would behoove us to give some thought as to how we want to proceed.
Thank you. I was going to go ahead.
My question is, have we heard from the parents?
Well,
What do they want to do?
there was a meeting last week that I inadvertently bumped into because there were 2 simultaneous meetings. I had a meeting in the library media center with my school governance council, and on the other side of the room was the meeting with the Paris Spain trip. And as I was coming into the meeting at 7 o'clock, they had started early and people saw me, so several parents came running up to me and already they said, "We hope you don't cancel this, we hope you don't cancel this. Our kids are really looking forward to this. They've been waiting for this, for months and months and months. And please don't make a quick decision, don't make a rash decision, because this is still April and it's a long time away." But the reality is, kids are continuing to pay money, and
The other question for Paris is it's already in lockdown. What are they expected to see when they go there with the curfew that they're going to have in Paris? I mean, they're not going to go to the Eiffel Tower, that's for sure, unless they see it from a distance. So I don't understand what it is that they're going to be able to glean from this trip.
Well, that trip is Paris and Spain. It has Seville and Cordoba and Marrakech involved as well. But it was interesting, Dr. Sal was present. We had a conference call with a representative from the company, and he said, well, Paris is probably the safest place to travel because of all the security that's there now.
Well, security, but they're also locked in their houses, so,
So
they have a 3-month curfew that I know of. So I don't know what they would see.
You said that that it's lifted in February, what did you say?
Well, right now, the alert, as I know it, is extended until February 24th. Of course, I think as that date gets closer, they'll reevaluate it and whether they continue to extend it beyond that. It was previously sometime early January, and now it's been extended to February 24th. When we explored with the travel representatives whether or not we could get our money back, the only way that full amounts of refund would be granted is if the United States declared that all travel was banned and that we couldn't do it. So that a Board of Education, a superintendent, or a principal canceling a trip doesn't really hold any weight with that. The airlines have been locked in, they've been paid, things are purchased, and
So this recent travel ban that the United States did put on, I mean, it was not a ban,
It's
it was
an alert.
actually an alert.
Right.
That doesn't count.
that doesn't count.
I,
Now, they have a trip going this week to Paris that this gentleman would be on. And he says that things are, in terms of groups going over there, that are still proceeding. He said he had 17 schools in Connecticut that between now and April would be making trips.
You said there's a possibility of postponing until
There
the
is,
summer.
we explored the possibility of postponing both of the trips, to the summer, and that's something that would be doable. The only thing there that probably wouldn't be refundable would be the airline tickets, because airlines are non-transferable and non-refundable. And, they would try to see if they could get those refunded, but that was the one area that he said probably would not be refunded. In terms of the tour guide and the entire package, that they would just roll over to summer. Although he did say that summer is prime time to travel in Europe, and there probably would be a cost increase as well.
I did send out an email to about 50 schools, and also to our state organization. A high number of schools have canceled or postponed or delayed their trips. I will tell you that. We spoke, there's 2 trips, there's 2 companies. So one company, the Germany trip, I guess, will give a voucher, correct?
Partially, yes.
Partial voucher. For if you delayed the trip, if you, just so the board's clear, because when we approve the trip, the question is asked if they take insurance. I will tell you, insurance has to be an act of war before they get it back. In your case, the voucher, if they go summer and they paid $3,000, is the $3,000 is the credit?
I asked my EF tour person that I've been working with for this trip what would happen if we postponed to the summer. And the voucher wouldn't be in play because we would just be postponing, so it's not a cancellation. There would be a $200 increase for each student for us to postpone, and I don't even know if everybody would be able to go. So the kids who couldn't go would get a cancellation fee of $550 and then a future travel voucher for the balance that they've paid so far.
The other trip, the 42 that are going, we've been collecting since, I don't know, maybe June. There are 8 seniors. The difference of those students, we were told that if we had the trip next year, they would apply the total amount, which I found interesting.
I'm sorry, they
Apply the amount to that,
Except for the airlines.
except for the airlines.
And I don't know exactly what that fee is, but they would lose that. And then there's always, the other thing is that by next year, the fees could go up as well. So they would apply the amount, but it would not necessarily cover the entire amount.
All right, already,
Mr. Vacaccio, what is the downside for stopping at this point, collecting any further money? Is there, until a firm decision can be made so that somebody doesn't put money in and then, let's say, worst case scenario, a decision's made and money's lost?
I know that the contract for the French trip reads that all monies have to be made or paid by, I want to say January 20th or something in that vicinity. And as I said, there were a number of kids. The total price was around $3,200 and change, and they offered a reduction in the rate of $3,000 for students that prepaid the whole thing, And my understanding from the teacher that's running the trip is there are a handful of students that have already paid the entire $3,000.
But between now and January 20th, can you just hold it?
Yeah, I mean,
Hold
we
that.
could certainly tell the students not to make any payments between now and then.
Can you get a firm list of all the children students, that want to attend, and a confirmation from the parents that they are willing to allow the child to go on a trip? Also, Kim, what is the board's liability in terms of, let's say, hypothetically, 2 scenarios. The board says no, and then you have to downsize the financial loss. How does the board, can the board give liability and let the students just do what they would do as an independent citizen?
So one of the things that has crossed my desk is that travel agent did send us a mock-up of a parent waiver, something that what he was claiming was other districts have used. I personally don't think that's an enforceable waiver. I don't think that if you were to send those students and a parent and you produce a piece of paper that said a parent said I waived my rights, I don't think that's going to be enforceable, honestly. I think that the more important question is whether or not the insurance policy that we take out covers an act of terrorism. And one of the things that Joe and I have been looking at, and to be honest, I'm not comfortable completely with the documents I've seen. I've seen the brochure that talks about coverage of foreign incidents like ransom, kidnapping, but I know that it is not uncommon for insurance policies to have exclusions for acts of terrorism. And so I would want to go beyond the brochure and look to see whether or not there is in fact an exclusion if there's a terrorist act. You're talking about not only liability because it's a school-sponsored trip, you might have costs like repatriation. There's lots of things that could result from some sort of an event, and I just can't tell you for sure whether I think those things would be covered. The brochure is not clear, it's not comprehensive, so underlying that brochure there's going to be another insurance document that I want to take a look at. But I think that, going back to your original point, can the parent sign a waiver? I would raise some real questions about whether or not you could enforce a waiver if you were to get into a situation where something happened.
No,
Most of case law is pretty dominant that you can't sign the waiver rights of an individual.
I wasn't proposing, I never said a waiver.
No, I meant so your liability,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. The forum of which the trip was, the genesis of the trip was established in our school system. They go, you still going to be liable because where they receive the information from the trip, you are in tangent and we are still part of that movement. So if something can happen, I can't say to you in all honesty that there isn't a nexus back to your liability. I can't say that. That's why I would recommend if we do cancel, and the parents get the tickets, if they want to go as an individual, they have a right to go. But then our teacher's not accompanying them. That's why that waiver thing scares me.
The only thing I would supplement that is even if we thought that we had it all nailed down, there's still going to be litigation over it, and it's still going to cost a whole lot of money to decide.
The other fact is that I firmly, this is a serious thing right now. It could conceivably evolve. It may just go away in Paris and Belgium now or whatever, but the way things are going, it seems that this is the current trend of what's going to happen. So it might be something that the board has to consider is to whether we want to continue to promote and honor these particular trips. I mean, going for the future, not necessarily for right now. Is it worth something that between now and the next 20, 30 days that you can do your research on that and the board can reconvene at maybe a committee meeting or whatever you want to call it, so that we can discuss this thing not only specific to this, but long range as to what we're going to do. There's a lot of money at stake. I understand the money, but on the other side, God forbid something happens, a few $1,000s is nothing compared to the traumatic effect of that.
Okay, thank you. Richard Murray.
Can we revisit this in January?
Yeah.
See where we
I think
stand?
that probably the last opportunity for us to cancel would be
January what?
January. I don't know the exact date, and both trips are different. They're working with different companies and there's different ramifications, but I know that the one has to have all the monies in by January 20th or something like that. And then if they just cancel the trip, they would lose the $500 and some odd dollars.
Correct.
In terms of your trip, I'm not sure.
I know that after the first of the year, the cancellation fee of $550 for my trip will increase, I'm not sure to what, I think $7 or $750.
That's the first of the year.
Yeah, they've frozen the cancellation fee at $550 through the end of the year because everybody's talking about what to do. And I know that I did ask my representative, for the students who did purchase the insurance, is this covered? And she said no, because the act of terrorism is not through, right now there's no ban or alert through the date that we would travel, and it's deemed safe at this point as far as they know for April. So if it were to extend into April and become, a very big issue, then I think that would be revisited. Right now, she said if they can, they see no problem going in April. So it's not covered.
So would you be comfortable, January 13th is our first Board of Ed meeting in the new year?
It's too late for you, right?
Well,
It's not too late.
you lost of $200.
I
so
think
five-
that's fine,
Here we go.
for you guys to think about it and see what happens.
Exactly,
think
I
that's
mean,
great.
So I'm just curious.
Personally, I'm leaning
Right
on
now
safer than
it's-
sorry kind of thing, but you know what, I don't want to deprive the kids either. To your point, you have no idea what their schedule is going to look like for the summer as far as a postponement or a delay, so.
Well, I guess, I've received some calls from parents who are not in favor of going, just so you know, so I heard the other side. I guess what I
This
want to
is a
say
no-win
to you,
situation.
I just want to say to you, I don't want to lead someone on, okay, I wouldn't put any more money down. I don't know what's going to be different January 13th, quite frankly, but I understand the money piece. I in good conscience can't recommend to this board to send those youngsters overseas. I'll just tell you my feeling. But I don't think anything is going to change by the 13th. That's why I strongly suggested, if the board wants them to go on a trip, I'm not opposed to that. Postpone it to the summer, as some other districts have done. Does that help you in terms of planning so that youngsters don't lose any money? That was my concern. If you wait till January 13th, there isn't any different. We could wait, but I wouldn't, I guess I'm saying I wouldn't encourage folks that necessarily things are so different, the board might have different data and say, yes, you can go. At this point, the data is what it is to February 24th, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that would change if you got some better news from your insurance company, I would think.
Well, as well as if the travel alert was just increased by 30 days, but it stays consistent at the end of February for the next 30 days or 45 days, then I've got a little bit more of a comfort factor, personally. I mean, I would err on the side of caution and say no, but again, I don't want to take away from the students.
Mr. Concho,
That is a problem.
I don't think.
could you also come up with some numbers relative to what the
I
loss
can't hear both of you, I'm sorry.
The loss is right now, those youngsters, and she was checking, she's not here for the main trip, she thought a handful of students paid the entire $3,000.
That's what she
Those
told me.
kids would lose $500 plus.
I'm saying, in total, there are two scenarios. One, if you said no, what would
I
the
just
total
told you.
loss be?
I just said.
$500 plus
$500
times 15 people times 20.
Oh, you're talking,
Yeah,
well-
total dollars, what I'm looking at.
I don't know if the total dollars are relevant, it's per person.
$20,000.
And it's $500 per person or $550 if we canceled now. If we wait, it goes up in her case to $750 and it continues to rise the further along you get. The other thing is with the Paris trip, they have to have money sometime in January to complete. My understanding was that all of them put down a deposit, but I'm hearing different information from people in the back, so I'm not 100% sure, but my understanding was that all of them put down a $500 deposit. The teacher also told me that a few students prepaid the thing, which was $3,000.
And they would lose the entire amount. And I question that because I think we would work with that company somehow. This happened last time, about 4 years ago, and the money was returned. And that's like any insurance company.
And when we
You
talked to
can't
them
guarantee
about
it.
postponing, they did say that they would roll all the money towards the summer. The only thing that they couldn't answer, and they weren't definitively saying no, but they couldn't answer for the airlines. They thought that if we lost anything, it might be some of the airline fees.
And I also just have a quick question, I'm sorry. Well, when you discuss, you know, what to do when you vote, my representative also suggested changing destinations. And she said that that's a possibility. They do have some Latin America itineraries, Costa Rica, Peru, Panama, things like that, for April break, if that is something that would be acceptable as well. So that's another option for my trip.
Alrighty, I'm sorry, Ralph, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a question. Did you forward it out there to the parents that it might be postponed, and or you guys haven't done that yet?
I did. I emailed all my parents last night and told them that it was being discussed
That's why I
tonight.
got the calls today.
And I told them if they had it, they could forward them. And, you know, I didn't get any emails back personally, but I guess you got a couple phone calls.
2 calls.
Okay.
So were most of the parents for postponing, or?
Only 2 contacted Dr. Sal. And there were 2 parents that came up to me from the French trip last week encouraging us to allow it to go. Now, that was only 2 out of some 30 or whatever. So I don't have a true gauge as to what the sentiments of the parents are. I will tell you that parents know ahead of time that what the cancellation fees are, and there's always a potential, but I don't think it's a reality when you sign up. You just don't think that this is ever going to happen, and so you sign the paperwork and you think, you know, you don't think twice about it, and then when it becomes a reality, of course, now it's going to become a big issue one way or another. Whichever way we decide, it's not going to be the right way for somebody. There's going to be those that feel strongly that we should not be going, and they're willing to forfeit the $500, and then there are those that think that, you know, it's not a big problem, and they don't want to forfeit the money, and their children have been looking forward to it, and that kind of thing. So I know it's, you know, it's a no-win situation.
Maybe the board, I'm sorry, maybe the board can put it on hold to the 13th. And maybe the 2 groups can look at an alternative where, destination to go. So the money is not lost. At least have that conversation. So we come back to the board if they want, that night, if that is asked, is there an alternative? And you have it, and you can go there, and the kids don't lose money. They could consider that, so that they don't lose it if you're worried about the summer. That might be the way to go, and I would not advise anybody sending any more money than what they've sent, quite frankly, if that's the case.
I know that my students have to, they're on a monthly payment plan, so I know,
Madam?
I agree with you, but.
It's in the mail.
Madam Chair, let's have a vote, and worst case scenario, the Board of Ed is the bad guys.
Well, and that's what they're looking for, so.
Exactly, so-
Not for us to be the bad guy, but for us to make the decision.
Right.
But just 1 second, I have Bob and you, Pat. So Bob, you have
Yeah, I'll be honest, I always feel that the safety issue is the most important. And but I'm not gonna be on the board very long, but I wouldn't let my kids go. Okay? I would not personally let my kids go, okay? If they want to go in the summer, well, they can go as private individuals. You don't need the school to be backing a summer trip. But personally, from a safety angle, I wouldn't let my kids go. So as a board member, I wouldn't let the students go, okay? Because better safe than sorry.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Bob. Kathy?
I was just going to say, if we sanction this trip, the parents that are not in agreement just pull and
Yeah, they
we're
may
done.
visually
And
cancel.
we're done, right.
Right.
They lose their $550 or whatever fee it is and call it a day, and the rest of them that want to go.
Well,
It's not that easy, because
It's not that
again,
easy,
no,
okay.
there's minimums that are in place. I know on the French trip, there's a minimum of 25 kids. Otherwise, the group rate that they got, they have tour guides and everything else that are paid for. so
And we
this-
don't have that, correct? We don't have that many kids going on that trip, do we?
On that trip, we do. We
Well,
have,
you do on that
yeah,
one,
there's
but
so
not
many.
the-
Mine doesn't have a minimum.
30 in Paris, 15 in
Germany.
Germany.
I have a minimum of 6, so that's, I think I'm okay.
Okay. I need to ask Sal and Bill, we did this back a number of years ago when we stopped allowing trips. What happened at that time? Because there was a trip in progress. Because I cannot remember, I just remember how horrific it was. And it was the same thing. And Gary, you know too, so.
The
what
trip
happened?
was in place. I can't remember where it was, but there was a refund. And the board was, the parents came because the children didn't get the opportunity to go on the trip because we had to postpone the trip. And they came to the board because they lost their refund and they wanted their refund. I can't remember exactly what trip because it's
I
been
think it might have been
like
Paris
years.
and all that.
Yeah.
It wasn't Paris.
It was not
It wasn't
Paris.
Paris.
Before I was here. It happened to me in Old Saybrook, and we were able to get the money back from the organization. The Connecticut Association of Public School Superintendents, with all of the groups, were able to work with about 3 of the insurance companies, and they refunded, but not all people. If you went with a different group, then you didn't get the money back. That was the difference. The other thing is, if you purchase there's a lot of variables.
Right.
I think you need to figure out what you want to do.
So what I need to do now, what we need to do now is give some direction. I'm gonna we're not going to vote, all right, it's not a final thing. I just would like to know where everybody's standing, and if you think that if we wait until whatever the 13th of January, we'll have a better understanding, which is also the other thing I wanted to do. Richard, you want to start on your side?
No, I would not allow it. And I don't think it's gonna improve by January 15th, so, you know, direction will be the same then. So I would say no.
I would cancel it also for the safety reasons.
I feel like I need more information.
Right, okay. Thank you, Peter. Okay.
I feel like I shouldn't even tell you anything because January I'm not gonna be here, and right now I would feel like I would need more information.
Also,
More information.
more information. I'm more information. Yeah.
No,
Roger?
I would like more information, but I would say no. I don't know what's gonna change my mind with more information other than just the dollars and work out something, but personally, I wouldn't allow it. It's too big, for me, it's too big of responsibility on my shoulder.
I would say no, but I think we also have an attorney here that, through Dr. Sarah, can give us the information that, to really clarify the liability of the board.
I would postpone, is what I would do. So I would say no now, but I would postpone it when it's deemed a little safer.
What is the more information that all of you would want?
I would like to know how many parents would be willing to postpone. That's what I'd like to know. I mean, because if you're gonna postpone and they could move that money over, you lose money on the airline, it's different than losing money off, you know,
I mean, I
losing
certainly
the
don't know
cancellation
the
fee and the airline fee.
I certainly don't know the definitive answer, but I can almost tell you that it's gonna be a mixed. You're not gonna get a consensus 100%. There are gonna be those that are gonna wanna go, there are gonna be those that don't wanna go, there are gonna be those that are gonna tell you that they can't do the summer because of other commitments.
So, man, I need clarity. The liability part is, you know, I don't know what more we can find out, but I'll leave it up to Kim. However, what I heard was the preponderance of the folks here think it's not a good idea to go. We're all concerned about the money part. If the groups work on an alternative to, let's say, South America, would you permit them to at least pursue that with the parents? That's the kind of feedback that might be helpful to you.
Well, that's what, and I think
That
that's.
feedback is something you can act on then.
I think that's the information that people are looking for.
So, and I'm looking at you guys, is that something you would consider as viable?
I can definitely look into it. I'm not sure how my parents would feel about it, 'cause it's just an idea that I came up with the effort.
But that might help the board if they're saying no there, but you have an alternative that's, we'll go to South America, they're saying it's doable, then at least they could say yay and nay on something concrete for you.
Yeah, I can definitely get information about which parents would like to go to a different place in April, as well as which parents would like to go over the summer and bring that back.
And I can have the French trip coordinator work on that as well.
Also see what kind of volunteers they can do.
Richard, could we take turns?
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay, no. I'm sorry, Colt Michael.
Would it be possible to do this in like a committee rather than?
Yeah, I do.
Because I think there's too much here to do here.
Do what?
Committee. More some, like maybe a committee
He
of all.
wants to form a committee so that we, or not even, just, yeah.
Workshop.
Workshop. a workshop,
I can
okay?
go for a workshop now.
Yeah, let's do it, well, and then we wouldn't have to wait until the 13th, we can call a workshop. Can we not then?
You could.
You call a workshop, where we can all, and
Would the
hash it out.
parents be included?
Just not sure you're gonna have a whole lot more information between
Yeah,
now
I
and
know.
change the
No, but maybe we could get some of the questions or the answers to those questions
Right.
raised at that workshop.
Yeah, we'll have our answers before then. It's not gonna take them until the 13th to put together those answers, okay? But,
No, I mean, we're liable for any trip at any time. Anything could happen any time, correct?
Yes.
I mean, so we've always, you know,
right,
just, I know it's heightened now, obviously, because of what's going on, but we're always liable for.
Well, there's a
All the time.
there's a reasonableness clause. If a reasonable person could have expected something to happen, you need to act a certain way. You're acting not as an individual, but a Board of Education with a fiduciary responsibility. It's a different operation, a different standard. So if someone sits before you and say, you've got this warning in your face and you let them go, you know, you need to deal with it. That's why I'm saying, I'm letting kids go to Manhattan. That's questionable, I get that, right?
Right.
But overseas away, you know, there's a whole different distance. So that's why, yes, we're liable when you make the decision, irrespective of where, South America or France. But if there's no warning in South America,
Or New York
whereas in
City.
France, right, then you, at least you have the reasonable clause that you see.
But
see, there's the underlying thing.
I don't even think it's that clear. I think that if something were to happen, all you are going to have are the facts that are in front of you at the time, which none of us can predict what they're gonna be. So, and I wanna be real clear, I don't think there's much of a question at all about whether you would have liability. I was raising the question of whether your insurance company would pay for that if you found out you were liable, which is really, I mean, the first question, if that's the one you're worried about, I don't think there's much question that any set of scenario facts that we're thinking about is probably gonna hinge, is gonna place some significant amount of liability on the board.
So we would need to know that information if our insurance company does cover it in all situations.
Joe did call the company, I think.
We do have, as Kim was pointing to, we do have travel coverage for international for our students on any trips. There is a question as far as the extent of that with terrorism and those sorts of things. But I mean, there is all the usual pieces such as kidnapping areas covered underneath the policies. It's just a question of the extent thereof. We're getting copies of the policy.
I think the best that you can do is in your own minds assess what you think the risk is, because we can't predict for you with any certainty what the facts are going to be that are going to lead to whether or not there's liability or whether it's covered. I think you have to resolve in your own mind what you think the level of risk is.
Yeah.
So what I hear the board saying probably is get some clarity on insurance, look at some alternative travel, and we'll have a workshop where the only item would be this item for conversation, and I think that's the best we can do. But I think they ought to know that the board is they're considering putting a hold on the trip at this point.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you for taking the trip. Your school sponsors.
Yeah.